You're talking about a former city minister and the chairman of a major exporter who have both said Britain should not be afraid of leaving the European Union. We're going to be hearing a lot more about this in the next year.
We are going to be hearing a lot about this because before the election, you remember, David Cameron promised an in-out EU referendum by the end of 2017. Well, now he's in government, that's a certainty. So loads of people are going to be having their say on this until that happens. Now, Lord Bamford has been the first to deliver the first blow, if you like, of this Parliament. He's the chairman of JCB, which makes construction equipment here in the UK, also a big exporter. He's also a donor to the Conservative Party, but he said the UK would be fine on its own.
We are the 5th or 6th largest economy in the world anyhow, so we could exist on our own, quite peacefully and quite sensibly, and we could negotiate as our own country rather than being 1/28th, rather than being a 28th nation in Brussels, which is what we are at the moment.
Now, the former City Minister, Lord Digby Jones, he was on 5 Live earlier. He agreed with Lord Bamford, saying as long as there was a free trade agreement with the EU, Britain would be fine outside of it. Now, Richard Reid co-founded Innocent Drinks. He now runs a venture capital firm called Jamjar and is a member of Business for New Europe, a group of business leaders who support staying in the UK. Hi, Richard.
Hi there, how's it going?
Good, thank you. Lord Bamford says we'd be fine on our own. What do you think?
I think he's a man to be respected. He's built an incredible world-class business. I disagree with him in that being part of the EU is just an absolute result. If you're a British entrepreneur setting up a business and you want to get access to what is the world's largest trading bloc, it is an unbelievable opportunity right on our doorstep. And for us to start taking steps back away from it, it makes no economic sense, it makes no social sense, it makes no geopolitical sense.
But his point, I guess, was that we could maintain that free trade agreement, but without the kind of strictures, if you like, of being in the European Union. Don't you think that could work? Does he have a point?
I think it's what is the benefit? We are already part of the world's largest free trade area, and as part of that, we get access to another 50 free trade agreements. As soon as we come out of that, we turn our back on that, and then we have to start renegotiating all of those with the individual countries. It takes on average 10 years for an independent country to do it, whereas the EU have done it in 3. So I guess I agree with him in the sentiment, nothing terrible is going to happen, but what will happen is we'll just be distracted rather than getting on with business. And if you look at even the most sort of cynical think tanks that do an audit of what would be the economic consequences of coming out, they estimate between a drop in GDP of 2.2% to a maximum benefit of an increase of 1.6. So that's the spread of going down by 2.2 or best case up by 1.1. It's not worth the gamble.
But one of the things he did say, though, was that we'd be, as an individual country, rather than being as part of the EU, one of 28 negotiating together, we'd be in a better position if we were just one country negotiating with countries outside of the EU.
Well, I guess I disagree, because I'd rather be part of a team of 500 million people rather than just 57. As I said, look, we're not 5th or 6th, by the way, we're 7th in the world as an economy, but I think we misunderstand, I think we take for granted just how great it is being part of the EU. Just this morning, I had breakfast with an incredibly clever, very talented Swiss entrepreneur that has just moved to London for one reason only, to set up their business so they can trade with Europe, rather than do it from Switzerland, because it's just more difficult than doing it from there. We take it for granted because it's been the case for the last couple of decades. Coming out, it's just going to put a bit of sand into the machine, which is not going to help us get on with the business. Rather than sort of debate whether we should come out, I think people should spend the same time and energy and money setting up businesses, setting up charities, building new schools, rather than have this sort of backward-looking debate. We made the decision. We're in. The grass is not greener on the other side. Much better to stick with the strategy we've got and make the best of it.
OK. Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, Richard, quickly, a quick question. You know, people know your company, Innocent Drinks. Would you leave the UK if we were to leave the EU, or do you predict a big exodus of businesses?
Well, I wouldn't, because we're a British business first and foremost, but I can tell you this. 50% of our revenues come from trading with Europe, whereas 80% of the people that we employ in the UK. So just as that one example, you can see the benefit we have from having British businesses that can trade and be part of the EU. But I do think it's the world's largest trading bloc.
OK, Richard Reid, I'm so sorry, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed.